Today I'm taking the interior out of my car to do some other work, and I thought I would show you a little bit these ProCar Rally seats with Houndstooth. I've had these seats in the car for several years now, and I really do like them. There are some pros and cons, of course, to anything, but the best thing I think is this Houndstooth cloth. It's awesome. So there is vinyl, of course, all the way around the sides, and that can get a little warmer and stickier in the summertime, but this cloth does not. The cloth is really comfortable, and I love the contrast with the vinyl. The seats have a lever here to move the back forward, and because the bolstering is so big here, it doesn't really move all the way forward. It's just past 90 degrees. So if you want to get into the back seat area, you also have to grab the lever here at the front and shift the whole seat forward. It's kind of like two actions to get into the back seat area. My back seat's really dirty right now because I'm going to be removing the insulation from the top of the ceiling here. One thing I really like about these seats is they do have a pouch in the back, and it's pretty big. You can stuff a lot of things in here. My kids put their water bottles in here sometimes, and I often throw like my tire gauge and my pyrometer in here when I'm autocrossing. It's also a good spot to store like papers and books and anything like that that you're bringing along. The seats do have an adjustable headrest, and there's just a little button here on the side for raising and lowering them, which is really hard to do with one hand, but there you go. So they go down, and then when you move them up, they kind of click into place. One thing I noticed about this is that because it only snaps in on this side, the other side's kind of free to move around. And so the headrest, you can see right now, it's kind of angled because of there's no retention there on the other side. So that's something I don't really like. And also in the highest position, which I think is right there, these are still not quite tall enough to get to the back of my head. The back of my head is kind of in this area, so the bottom of the back of my head is up against the headrest. Now it's totally comfortable, no issues with comfort, but I do worry about, in a rear end collision, am I going to be really held very well by these headrests? Now taking a look at the shape of the seat, you can see it has this lumbar support down here near the bottom. This is a little bit low for my back. I wish the bulge that's kind of centered here were up higher, a few inches, maybe centered more here. I think that if you were a smaller person, again, I'm 6 foot and I weigh just over 200 pounds. A smaller person, this would be a little bit better position. And it's totally fine for me, comfortable driving around. On really long trips, I find myself wishing I had a little more bolstering in this area for lumbar support. It's not adjustable. There's nothing you can change about it. It's just a fixed position there. All right, so let's talk about just getting in and out of the car. There's a lot of bolstering in this area. It's very high, and there's a lot of bolstering right here on the side. Now, this is awesome for autocross. I love it. In fact, just driving down the road, you really feel like you're situated tightly in the car. There's no moving back and forth, but there's a big bolster here. So if you're getting in and out of the car, it can make climbing in. Normally, you can see I'm kind of right up against the bolster as I come in and out of here. So getting in and out is not as easy. But once you're in here, once you're in the seat, I mean, check this out. You've got full support here on each side, both for your hips and up here on your sides, and it really holds you in position. And I love that. That's awesome about this thing. You can really feel comfortable in the car. And then if you want to adjust the seat forward or backwards, there's a lever, and it's just a manual adjustment. Right? And it's got a lot of adjustment. I can cram myself up here against the steering wheel, and I can move back. It's got to be at least 12 inches of adjustment. So if you're really tall, you can come all the way back here. And then you've also got, of course, the side lever, and you can lean the seat back. And depending on how long your arms are, get whatever comfortable position that you need. It's pretty awesome. But getting in and out, especially with the steering wheel, is a lot harder than a seat that doesn't have this bolstering, because you got to kind of get over the bolstering. And if you're really close to the steering wheel, that's hard. So when I get in and out, I usually twist and put my legs over the bolstering right here, and then I'll climb out like this. All right, so let's talk about durability. I've had these for, since I think 2017 or 2018, somewhere in there. It's currently 2024, so at least 5 years. and I drive my car on weekends and during the week pretty regularly. The Houndstooth has held up really well. I don't see any fray or snags on here. Of course, that might depend on what kind of clothes you wear, but no issues with the Houndstooth. I was really worried about whether it would stay clean, and you can see it actually hides dirt pretty well. I don't come in and clean this regularly, and it's in really good shape. The vinyl, I would say the vinyl, you can kind of see contours in the vinyl, especially on the bolstering, like here, in areas where it's folded or I guess stretched a little bit over time as I've come in and out of the seat a bunch. And I was really worried about it on this side where I enter, because this is constantly getting, smashed down as I go in and out of the car. But I'm not seeing any evidence of the stitching coming apart or fraying or breaking down. And I think they're holding up pretty well after this period of time. The mechanism here works just as it did when it was new for leaning the seat forward and backwards, which for me is really important. My kids ride back here all the time, so I'm constantly moving it in and out. The slider, the same thing. The slider works pretty well. I've noticed that sometimes the slide lever, which unfortunately you can't see here, there's a little cap kind of like this. It has this plastic cap here that sometimes will pop off, and a little bit of glue would probably solve that problem. But otherwise they act just like they did when they were new, and I'm really happy with that. Now the seats are mounted on these sort of built frames that have little brackets here at the front. This outside bolt hole on the front and the rear is the original bolt hole for a bench seat that went across the entire car. But the inside bolt hole that mounts this side is just drilled through the floor. And so it's a drill through the floor with a large washer. Not maybe as strong, certainly not as strong as a full original bucket seat mount that would have been welded in, but still seems to hold the seats just fine. Here's a better view of that bracket. You can see how it's mounted back there by that bolt. And I've modified these stands in order to lower the seats by a full inch on both sides here. So that lowering the seat down to the floor was really important for me. I'm 6 foot tall, and before I did that, the height of the seat was just awful. I'll go ahead and take these seats out so you can see the brackets and how they mount. Alright, here's the bracket for the seat. It consists of these tubes that are welded onto a simple frame, and then tabs 1, 2, 3, 4 at each corner. And you can see here that I've cut and welded in this new tab at every single corner. I've cut in and put in new tabs in order to lower the seats. And the way that I did that is I took the original tab and I stacked a set of washers on top of the original tab. I cut out this new tab, welded it on while it was all bolted together, and then I cut off the original one. So all of these have been cut down, and this corner here at the back outside is really what limits how far this can go down. I'll show you in another video that this back bolt is about as far down to the floor as it can be while still being able to install it. So this is really the limit for this thing, and then these other ones are all matched to make sure that the seat stays level. And the front here is also, I think, as low, pretty much as low as it can go while still being able to install these bolts. So that is the bench to bucket conversion bracket, which just goes right through the floor here on the two inside and then uses the original mounting on the outside. You can also get a bucket version of the bracket for an original bucket seat car, and those have in the floor area, they have an integrated welded in bracket system that I think would be stronger than this, but I don't know if it would let you lower the seat as far. So I'm happy with where the seat is mounted now with this one. And I never did paint these, so I'll pull them out and paint them right now after I get done. Okay, so the real question is, would I recommend these seats to you for your muscle car classic? Well, overall I'd say yes. They're fantastic. They're really good value for the money. There are nicer seats out there if you want to pay a premium price for a premium product, but considering what you get for these seats, for the price that they come at, I think they're a really good value. And as long as you fit well in them, they're going to be comfortable driving down the road. I always recommend finding another car that has the seats that you're interested in and sitting in them to see, are they really comfortable for you? Do they sit well with you? Do you like how the back sits? Do you like where the lumbar is? Can you get in and out of them comfortably? Don't go crazy with the race seat or something if you have a daily driver that you don't really need that for. Things that you absolutely need to consider for your application: how well does it mount in your car? This is a 1970 Nova, and the brackets that they provide for bench to bucket conversion in this car are at least an inch too tall, in my opinion. So I took those brackets and I cut and welded new tabs on them to lower them by a full inch. That made a huge difference, because before I did that, my head was up against the headliner and I had to look down in order to see the traffic light in front of me. So that was no good. I cut those up and I dropped them, and now it's in a really good position. But hopefully you don't have to do that for your application. Ask around and see, what else people are doing and how they feel about these things. But overall, they make the car, give the car a fantastic look. It's very vintage looking. I think it fits the car well. But most importantly, I'm comfortable in them and I like them a lot. So get the seat that makes sense for you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.